Similar as the other two, we've got the nice holographic detailing on the side, ingredients on the back. Super happy with how the carton turned out as well. Beautiful. The palette itself has 13 shades, 6 different formulas as we've talked about. There are those 2 larger pans in the palette. That is purposeful and specific. And we've got bubbles and effervescent as those 2 larger
Still got the
pans.
same little seeds on the inside. And then the palette. I don't know if I'm blinding you guys right now. I hope not. I'm not a YouTuber. I apologize if I'm not doing it right. I'm doing my best.
There we go.
All right, Emily, what's your favorite shade of the palette?
So my favorite sparkly shade is Infusion, just because I love sparkly purples, and it's like this perfect blend of like iridescent while still being a little bit pigmented enough that you can see the purple. It's not just like a sheer color, but it's super reflective. And there's a bunch of like iridescent little shimmers in it, and there's a lot of pink and gold and a little bit of blue, and it's just such a nice like all over the lid purple color. Most recent favorite, which is like kind of a surprise to me, is Sweetened. I've been like reaching for it all the time. I mean, I reached for it today. I really do like all over the lid, and then just like blending it and then calling it a day, and like I'm kind of obsessed with it. And I didn't expect to like just one color to do a one and done type look that isn't a shimmery one.
And why they're a big pan is because both Bubbles and Effervescent are really special shades, and we wanted them to be used in like multiple ways and be super versatile. So we figured that they might be some of those shades that you kind of go through the most of. And you know, when you have a palette and you're like, oh my gosh, I used my favorite shades already and there's none left, like we didn't want that. They can almost be used as like a glittery highlight. If you're into that, you're doing some fun, awesome makeup, they're great for that. We got Bubbles.
Yeah, and Bubbles is a glitter type iridescent multi-chrome. So for those of you who are familiar with the Stained Glass collection, you'll be probably familiar with that formula. They're iridescent, really to add some pop, shine, multi-chrome aspects to your look.
Those like kind of wet looking glittery types, it's not like super chunky. You just put it on the lids and it looks like wet almost in certain lights, if you know what I mean.
Actually designed kind of to be like the iridescence of a bubble. You know how like bubbles, if you actually look at them close, are kind of rainbow almost? So we incorporated a whole bunch of those multicolored glitters in it, so it gives that effect. Refresh. Refresh. This is very interesting here. Oh.
Yeah, they look good. Oh my god. Yeah.
Trying to do my best here. You want to describe that one, Britt?
Yeah, so Refresh is a really nice bubblegum pink, soft metallic, I would call it. It's not quite like a super amped up metallic, and it's not a velvet satin, but you really get a nice reflective silvery quality to it. It's got that like baby pink bubblegummy base, and it's just smooth, beautiful application.
Yeah, it kind of toes the line between like metallic and the velvet satin, but it does have that cool kind of silvery reflex. So next I'm swatching Strawberry Pear, which is one of our velvet satins here. Let's see. Doing my best. I'm like positioned so awkwardly behind the camera. If only you guys could see me. Strawberry Pear is like such a beautiful, it's a velvet satin. It's like a hot coral, would you say?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I'm so in love with the velvet satin formula. I'm wearing Strawberry Pear today. It's the first shade I went in with in the palette and just like put it all over my crease and layered it with other shades, and it's just so stunning. They just work so well together, these shades.
The velvet satin formula, it really does kind of lay down the perfect base to go in with other colors. The formula for the velvet satins, like they were saying, it's so nice. I mean, it is so smooth and like just it glides onto the eyes. I can't really describe it more than just that. It's very minimal effort to blend, and yeah, I absolutely love it.
Dragontini. So if you guys are familiar with our Vibrant multi-chrome formula, that's what Dragontini is. You'll probably be a fan of this. So as you can see, it's kind of like the nails. All right, let's see here. I'm probably gonna have to wipe some of these off after.
Beautiful.
only catching kind of like the golden shift, but it does kind of go lime to turquoise as well, is Infusion. So this is Emily's favorite from the palette, right, Em?
Yep. Infusion is my favorite.
Oh.
So beautiful. Like icy lavender almost, but it has these gorgeous like multi-chromes with it.
Let's make sure I'm in view here.
It's funny, this shade is also one that went through a lot of different stages to really get correct. We had a lot of different visions for what this one would be, but in the end, we really nailed it down. It's this beautiful, shimmery, multi-dimensional shade. We do classify it as a sparkle shadow, so it's really going to bring some dimensionality to your look.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost multi-chromatic. Some people might consider it multi-chrome. That depends, I guess, where definition lies, but it does have like a hint of a golden shift in it. It has like blue reflex, pink reflex. It's just absolutely beautiful. A dual chrome formula, and it's kind of like a softer base, like a brownish sort of softer base with like this beautiful magenta reflex and hints of copper even. This is a really beautiful like one and done shadow. Like super, super beautiful to just put it all over your lid and then blend those edges out into the crease. You can kind of build it up, you can sheer it out, and it kind of keeps that like really nice magenta reflect. And again, with those hints of copper at certain angles, it's absolutely beautiful.
I kind of like it more sheared out on the lid just because it gives more of like almost like a mauve look. It's got the magenta, but it almost goes a little bit more mauve because of the copper. And I like that. It definitely changes a little bit more when you layer it up. It becomes more purple, like more of like a bit. So I like having kind of that versatility, being able to change it myself, basically.
Sweetened. This is one of my absolute favorites in the palette, the center one right here. Yeah. It's a velvet satin, and it is just like such a special shade. It almost like is matte. It's not quite. It has a sheen, but it performs like completely like a matte. I use it with a big blending brush in my crease, blow it out. It blends effortlessly.
The thing with the velvet satins is that, you know, they're meant to be multi-purpose. You can really take a fluffy brush, blend, and you're going to get more of that matte effect, or you can pack it onto the lid and get more of a metallic foiled sort of application.
Like, it's just so incredibly buttery, and I mean,
totally.
I wasn't expecting it to be that, like, incredible, but like,
yeah, I mean, you guys saw how that swatched. Like, it was so easy. Yeah.
I will say, I'm actually wearing a little bit of Sweetened today too. I don't wear bright pink, and I absolutely adore the way this looks on me. I layered a bunch of the velvet satins in my look: prickly, strawberry pear, sweetened, but they just play so nicely together.
Yeah, you normally like a little bit more of like depth and grunginess, darker colors. Yeah. And so for her to step out of her comfort zone and use a color like Sweetened says a lot about the shade. Got Exotic, which is like a rich kind of raspberry metallic. Oh, this one's so beautiful. Really nice for like vampy kind of looks. Do I have any room here? I hope so.
And this was actually the shade, I think this is the one we sneak peeked first.
Yes.
Way back when.
Yes.
That beautiful, just creamy metallic formulation.
Yeah.
So stunning.
And so you can see the difference there between Hylocereus and Exotic. This one's significantly richer and darker, is really like good if you want to kind of build some more depth to your look. It was named after prickly pear, which is a different type of cactus fruit, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, which I think is actually such a cute little nod to that. So that's that one. It's another velvet satin. Really beautiful, like grape purple. I think I'm going to have to switch here.
Ooh, that swatch.
Look at that. Oh
my gosh.
So rich, so beautiful.
It's got a nice like,
hard,
coolness to the reflect to it, which is really beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like a kind of a warmth to the undertone, but sometimes a coolness to the reflect. But it is subtle because it is that velvet satin formula, but just absolutely beautiful. Really great for deepening a look. This nice kind of like acid green color.
It's funny, this shade was actually the last one in the palette to be finalized. We were playing around with the greens in that one corner, and something was missing. And Meg came out with this beautiful limey chartreuse velvet satin, and we're like, that's it. that's the one.
Yeah.
That's the final shade.
Yeah, I really love this one. I love the kind of yellow warm undertone that it has for green. It plays so well with some of the other colors in the palette, and having the cool with Dragonfly and the warmth with this one makes it really nice for versatility.
It goes so nicely with some of the pinks and the berries because it is kind of warmer. And it's not like overly yellow, but there's just a little bit of a yellow undertone.
Yes, exactly.
Really pretty color.
It's a velvet satin. It's also one of those ones that kind of toes the line. It has maybe a little more sheen to it than, say, Sweetened, but because it actually has additives to its formula that make it a velvet satin, that's why it's classified that way. Dragonfly is like a really beautiful glow stick green. It's metallic. It's just beautiful.
Gorgeous. Yeah, it's definitely more cool tone. Not quite as dark as a leaf green, but it's definitely more cool tone than Cactaceae.
Fruit Fizz, which is another duochrome. It's kind of like an orangey to a golden lime. Really beautiful shade.
The green is really strong too with that duochrome, which I love. It's like it goes from like kind of peachy orange to gold, and then you get hit with like a lime green that's pretty intense.
I'm not catching it here with these lights. It's kind of washing it out right now.
But on the eye, like you turn your eye a certain way and it's peach, and then all of a sudden it's green. It's a nice contrast.
You're right. It brings in the green from the palette too, because you might think, oh, orange and green is like a weird pairing, but it actually lends really nicely to that.
Yeah.
Effervescent, the last one in the palette. This nice big one here. Such a gorgeous multi-dimensional kind of peach shade.
And this is really such a great everyday shade, whether it's all over the lid, in a corner, whatever you want to do with it, like you will fall in love with this shade. You know, Effervescent is that sparkle formula. So it's got that punch, that added shine and shimmer and sparkly. That'll just add some oomph to your look. Palette is $74.99 Canadian, approximately $59.40 USD, 16 grams in the palette.
Yeah, so each of the smaller shades is 1 gram, which makes 11. And then the larger ones are 2.5 grams, so another 5 there. 16 grams total.
Yeah, and the palette, it is magnetic. Both the compacts, the Fruitlighter compacts, and the palette, they're magnetic. The top two are the two Fruitlighters. Those are 36 millimeter pans. Those come in the compact. And then the 3 on the bottom, starting from this side, we have our SGC shadow. That's the standard pan that they come in. That's a rectangular pan. The middle one is what our 26 millimeter circular pans look like. And then that last one on the bottom is what the small square pan looks like for the dragon fruit palette.
Something else to mention about like the weights of the pans. So when we say 16 grams, that's like the minimum because these are hand poured. So there's going to be some variance there. So what we do is we set a minimum that we're guaranteeing you guys. But some of these, like the small pans, even come in weighing like 1.3 grams, 1.4 grams sometimes. And you get it, but it's just that we can guarantee an amount so that when you're looking at the price and you're deciding, does this work for me, that you at least know this is what you're guaranteed.